Hello, everybody, and welcome to our community resource presentation. And today we'll be talking about transitional families by me, Augustina, or what I like to be called China, Shoyen, and Sion. I hope I pronounced that right. So essentially, transitional families are families whose members are separated physically between two or more nations and states, but maintain close ties and relationships. This is usually seen more closely with more intimate members of the family. So basically, families that are in the transitioning of moving into a new country. Like for example, the father would have to go into, for example, Canada, and they'll sponsor or just trying to sponsor and trying to build up a new life for their family who's going to be coming into a new country. These families are either separated due to immigration purposes or due to refugee purposes or refugee situations. My apologies. What are the type of family structures that are usually included within transitional families? So essentially, what are refugee and immigrant families? Refugees are usually classified as a person who has been forced to leave their country in order to escape war, social reasons, or natural disasters. And these families are usually groups of people who know each other. An immigrant is a person who comes to live in a country from some other country. Immigrants are classified in two ways, either migrants, or they either migrated in the country or immigrated into the country. They can either come by force or they can come by desire, just because they don't have the country is fine. They don't really have a need to leave, but they want to just live in a new country. For example, for me, if I want to move from Toronto to Seoul, and if I want to live permanently in Seoul, that's kind of migrating to a new country. I mean, Canada's fine, but if I want to move into a entirely different country, I will be classified as an immigrant. The biggest issue for families that are refugee families and transition families is that usually, because they've been forced into this situation, the transitioning into Canadian culture and life is very sudden, and sometimes it's very difficult for some individuals to adapt to. Some people can't really, they due to the trauma and due to the stress of fleeing from a different country, it can be very difficult to adjust into a new life, depending on how bad the conflict is in the original country.
What are some challenges for these families? Language barriers. English is one of the most difficult languages to learn. For people who just arrived in Canada, it can be difficult for them to adjust to learning, reading, and understanding a new language. It can be a struggle finding their way around them. For example, buying groceries when they cannot read the labels, seeking help in hospital, enrolling children in school, looking for a place to live, finding a job, and how to communicate their concerns or needs to service provider. Culture differences. There are always different values that different cultures have, and depending on the gap between the original culture or the individual and Canadian culture, it may take time for individuals to adjust to Canadian life. Employment. Many new families will face financial difficulty, as their experience may not be recognized in Canada. Although they have high educational qualification, many immigrants' parents find employment only in the low-paying service sector. Another barrier may be Canadian employers that require local work experience. This situation can have a huge impact on the family units. Those immigrants who have little education often face poverty. Distance between families. The distance between families can make communication at times difficult. From issue of time zones, frequency of internet connection, and availability, it can be difficult for families to still keep adequate communications once in different countries. Challenge for the children: separation. Not being able to see certain parents for long periods of time and all close family members can be difficult. If the child was very young when the parents or caregivers left for Canada, the child may not be able to remember the caregivers, which can be hard for both the parents and the child. Disconnect from education. Due to gaps in international education systems, children may struggle in either the academic or life adjustment in the Canadian education systems. This makes it even more difficult if the child doesn't understand English. If the child is from an authoritarian family, they may fall off their academics, making it harder for them to succeed in school. Intergenerational conflict. This is observed when there is a disconnect between two or more generations. This is mostly seen between adults and teenagers. Traumatic experience. Moving into a new country can be very difficult, and usually in refugee families, they have to flee from their original country. It can cause some trauma. As well, children from immigrant families may experience bullying and can make them fall off their academics. Traumatic experience. Moving into a new country can be very difficult, and usually in refugee families, they have to flee from their original country. It can cause some trauma. As well, children from immigrant families may experience bullying and can make them fall off their academics. How to make the classroom more comfortable for transitional families. The role of the educator. Respect where families came from. Create a favorable environment in which parents can trust. Educators are required to create favorable environment in which parents can trust. This will create a good space for parents to seek advice from the teachers. The childcare center is required to secure a stable unit for both children and the family members. Using the child's home language. Parents and children may be unfamiliar with English. Teachers can reassure a child and at the same time show respect for his or her identity by learning a few keywords in the child's first language or using translator help the child. Link family with agencies in the community that may be helpful to the individual needs. For example, English or French language classes, churches, temples, and other religious or immigrant settlement agencies, self-help groups and walk-in clinics. If meaningful resources for immigrants and refugee families are not present in a community, teachers can collaborate with families to make them happen. Educators may need specific professional development support focus on the refugee experience to be able to better support those families who may be struggling. Teachers need to come up with free materials for parents and books for children that can help in elaborating future the component of an immigrant and refugee family and other basic knowledge that is associated with it.
So, tips for parents: pay attention to children's emotional and social needs. When your child's crying, social needs when you guys need to go out, hang out at the park, when your baby needs your attention. Number two, be present and stay connected. Always be with your child. Stay connected with your child. Learn to know where your child's at, what your child's doing. Like, I'll ask your child, how was his day? At school, at daycare, build that connection with your child. Stay connected. Number three, take advantage of the best of both worlds. Number four, be open to learning. Always want to know what your child did today in daycare. Always want to know more about your child. Now, resources to aid families in transitioning into Canada. So the first one we have Family in Transition, a family services in Toronto. They're available for individual one-on-one counseling for single parents undergoing stress as a result of single parenting. And they also offer family support and co-parenting and counseling support for blended families, repartnering families. Their website, if you want to learn more about their program, is www.familyservicetoronto.org. And I encourage, anyone transitioning into Canada to always, visit their website, because life in Canada can be very stressful, especially if you're just alone by yourself. You're looking to bring your families into the country. You're looking to bring in your wife. Always, visit that website for help. They offer counseling programs, and moving on. And this is the LGBTQ Parenting Network. It's a resource guide for parents of trans youths, transgendered youth. And we have the Central Toronto Youth Services, the CTYS, a community-based, accredited children's mental health center that serves many of most Toronto vulnerable youth. And then moving on, we have the Self-Help Resource Center. On their website is selfhelp.on.ca, which is a family service in Toronto. They offer a wide range of therapy groups to children, parents supporting child adjustment, parent support. They offer a wide range of therapy groups to children, parenting support, child adjustment to divorce, like a family going through a divorce. That self-resource help center could help. Adolescent whose parents are living apart from each other, parenting after divorce for non-residential mothers, a support group for fathers, remarriage, and step parenting groups for blended families, parenting skills, and educational seminars on various related topics. A note that due to the pandemic that this program had to close, but on the website there are referrals to where the programs have been, transferred to, so you can always do your research about them. It's a good community resources, for families going through divorce, non-residential mothers. They offer a wide range of parent supporting sessions, to support child adjustment, to divorce and all that. So yeah, and also they offer parenting skills as well, an educational seminar. So I believe that this is also a good resource in order, this would also enable parents to learn more about ways to further deal with, divorce or blended family. For single parenting, was family might be outside the country and they're looking to bring their child in, or maybe the dad lives with the child and the mother is back home in Africa or wherever the mother would be. This would be a good support system, and it's also community based as well. So yeah, now slide it's also community based, so you can you get the opportunity to talk to other people around you, so you're not just alone in your world. You get to discover that other people are also going through this transition is war. So yeah.
All right, so we have some questions for the audience. Thank you for listening to our presentation. So basically, what are some ways that you personally feel that were not mentioned in this presentation that can assist transition families into adjusting into new life in Canada? Have you ever been in a transition family? And if so, how was it like? Tell us our, tell us your experience. And why is it so difficult for educators and their communities to support these families? And that's about it. That's the end of our presentation. Thanks for watching. Thank you.